And at 18, I actually did get a job at a casino. I was actually the youngest person there, and I was making more money than I ever had before. Way more than with any other job. I think I was making about 40 to 50 euros an hour at about 18, working at a casino, and I was basically working as a blackjack croupier, which came with about 1 to 2 months of training. But a lot of people at the casino, they got pissed off, especially the older guys. They didn't like how fast I was picking things up, because as you could imagine, a lot of times at these casinos, it's a lot of older people that work there. You may have seen it, you may have not, especially at the more established casinos, because there's just less risk to having older people work at these kind of jobs where they handle a lot of money, especially physical money. Eventually, and pretty quickly, they actually did fire me. They said that the reason was that I made too many mistakes, but I knew it was bullshit, and they just didn't like how young I was, and they just didn't like me. Especially all the older people, they were very envious and jealous because I was making the same amount of money as someone that was 40 to 45 years old at the casino. Now, at that moment, I actually remember walking out and thinking like, all right, bet, I just got to build something on my own because this is just unacceptable, and I was pissed. So I started tutoring math because I was very good at math, and it was super low key, but I was really very good at explaining stuff, and this did pay a little bit less than at my other job, but it gave me the freedom. And what was nice about it is that all the parents told the other parents because they really liked the results that their kids were seeing. And at this point, I basically had a mini tutoring business before I even knew what marketing was. I started hiring some other people to do the tutoring for some of the kids and clients that I had, and basically started building a little business out of that. This was a lesson for me, and the first time when I kind of like discovered leverage, using my brain instead of using my own time. And that's when I realized that school never really thought about money, but the people that had money, they found a way. And I kind of slowly started figuring out how they do it, and it was all with leverage. When I thought about that, I was one day actually sitting in the university, and I think it was right before Black Friday. Tai Lopez course popped up. I think it was $20 for like a $10,000 course. It was some crazy deal. Of course, it was just some marketing strategy, but it was like a Tai Lopez course for like $20. And I know it was corny, but it opened the door. I went through the entire thing, and this basically led me to a real mentor in real estate marketing that I basically found a couple months after I finished the program. I mean, just like a simple Facebook group. Now, the program costed around $2,500 with the new mentor, and I had to split it into 3 payments on a student credit card because I literally had no money. And I had to ask the bank for more credit, and I even asked my parents, and they said I was crazy and they wouldn't give me anything for it because they thought it was BS and they just wanted me to focus on finishing my degree. Fast forward, basically a couple months into the course, I ended up being in the south of France. I think this was like the 3rd month of me being in the course, and then basically my last payment. Some friends invited me there. I honestly was broke. I was stressed there, and I was honestly thinking about disputing the final payment because I wasn't making any money and I had to make all these payments. Luckily, I was on the phone with my bank. I remember walking alongside the road, and my bank actually declined the dispute. I swear, it was like a divine intervention, and that course honestly changed my life. And that's when I thought like, hey, the thing that you almost quit on is usually the thing that's going to save you. And that's when I always kept that in the back of my head moving forward. Now, this is where I got to basically my first real business, and my mentor that I found in that Facebook group helped me build my first agency. It was a social media marketing agency helping real estate agents how to land more buyer and seller leads. Now, I quickly landed a couple clients after those 3 to 4 months because I literally had no other way to pay these bills. I had to make money. And then a few more clients came in. Then quickly, a month after those 3 months, we were at 10K a month. Quickly, we were at 50K a month. And before you knew it, around month 9 to 12, I was doing $100,000 a month. But behind the scenes, I was on every call. I was writing every single ad, and I was solving every fire. Literally, I was almost doing everything in the business. When something was solved, then another fire came up. And that's when I realized that I wasn't really an entrepreneur. I was just an overpaid intern in my own company. Now, I was making hella money. Don't get me wrong. Like, I was balling out of control at a very, very young age, and I was basically being able to buy everything I wanted, and I did blow through a lot of money. Now, this all felt like jail again almost. Not physically, but mentally, right? Of course, like this time in mentally jail, but with a lot more money. It was, of course, a lot more fun than actually being in the jail. And this basically is when I learned that money doesn't really mean freedom. Systems do. And that's when I started hiring virtual assistants, executive assistants, client success managers, sales reps, and sales managers. And at the end, I fired myself from CEO and basically brought in someone better. Now, at this point, the business actually ran without me. And for the first time, I actually felt rich and wealthy. Not just in revenue, but just because the business was now growing without me and it was making a lot of money without me even being there. Now, I eventually exited that agency fully before 24. And when that moment happened, I didn't really celebrate, right? I just called my parents and I didn't really buy a watch or a car or anything because I already bought all those things, right? I just took a day off, just chilled, looked over my balcony all over Medellin and just had a chill sunset. And that's it. Now, what I did want to do always is I always wanted to travel through all of Asia because that's really the last part that I haven't been to. And because of the time zone, it's also messed up. I decided to just go there for 1 or 2 months with my best friends and make that trip and basically cross all those countries that I haven't seen yet off the list and decided that Colombia is still for me the place to live right now. Some of the lessons from the client and what actually mattered is like investing in mentors, even when I was broke, was the best thing I could have ever done because that's going to push you to basically sharpen up your skills, and a mentor is really going to push you to basically get to that next level. No matter where you are in your career, it's always good to have one. Another thing is that taking insane risks, the ones that actually make your stomach drop, were probably some of the best things I could have done, right? Because that's when you're really going all in into something, and it's really when the things are going to start to pay off for you. Staying obsessed with skills and not just followers or flexors is something I wish I was focusing on a little bit more, right? Because the money sometimes get to you and sometimes you just like slack or you start doing other things and you don't really start focusing on building more skills and the business kind of like drifts away. If I could basically talk to my younger self, I would always say like, hey, always better your skills and always look at these opportunities that come up and see how you could integrate it into your own business, especially with things like AI that are now coming up, right? You probably have seen it all over the internet. I rebranded myself a couple times, but I shouldn't have needed to do that because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what kind of brand or what kind of logo you have. It matters about what the results are that you can bring to someone, let's say a real estate agent, a plumber, etc. if it's a service-based business agency that you work with. And it's all pretty crazy to look back, but basically going from a broke tutor to a marketer to now basically a founder to an exit operator. And this whole journey, honestly, it's been incredibly fun. And one thing that I could probably advise and tell is just like enjoy the journey. Like don't just stay locked in all the time. Like go out and have some fun. Try to find some balance, because what I see a lot of times is that a lot of business owners, they get stuck in the weeds, right? And they don't get out and they almost become like business autistic, which is a term that we actually have with our friends. Another thing is like every chapter required letting go of who I thought I was. If I had to do it all over again, I would 100% bet on me sooner. I would believe in myself sooner. I would cut all the distractions out faster, like going out, drinking, partying, drugs, women, all of that. And I'll build quietly and share loudly, right? Whenever you have a big win. Because at the end of the day, your environment on top of that is what's going to keep you small or set you free. Like for me, I actually left Amsterdam and that's when I started making a lot of money. I changed my environment and you don't need permission to do all of that. I sure as hell didn't have any. My parents didn't want me to leave, but I felt like I just had to do it. I had to break out of this rhythm and staying stuck and staying around the same people and changing my beliefs and my vision. So I just had to leave to a different country. And at the end of the day, what I noticed as well is even after I did that, no one except probably your family is going to save you. But that's the best part because you're the hero in your story. So now let's just keep it that way. If you feel stuck, like in your job, in your business, or in your doubts, or even in your own head, I've been there all. And the biggest lever that I ever pulled was just changing the story I told myself. And you're still not too late. You're not too far gone, and you're honestly not too broken. If you want help building your version of this, exit the business, the freedom, just the money, hit the link in the description. We can just have a quick talk. See you on the other side. Let's talk.